Hey guys, Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer. We talk about music and occasionally books and movies. And today, we're going to be doing a special video, a Justin Bieber tier list. Now, if you're wondering why I'm choosing to do this, it's because, well, I'm planning on starting a series where I do a tier ranking of an artist every single month. This will include all of their big releases, so LPs, EPs, and if a compilation or live album is big enough to make it, maybe them too. So we'll see. Anyway, let's get started with Justin Bieber. And the reason I'm choosing to do him first is because I was curious. A lot of people will tell you Justin Bieber is the worst artist ever, including both of my parents. And then there are a lot of people who are huge fans of him. So he's like the most polarizing artist ever, so I kind of wanted to see where I would fall on this. And let's find out. Starting with his first EP, My World. This EP is pretty mediocre in my opinion. It has some good songs like Down to Earth, where Justin talks about his parents getting divorced, and Love Me, where he blatantly rips off Love Fool by the Cardigans, but does a surprisingly good job of ripping it off. I'm gonna put it in the meh tier overall, because while there are a couple of good songs on it, there's also the horrible song that is One Time, and a bunch of mediocre songs, so meh tier seems about right. Moving on to his first studio album, My World 2.0, this album is pretty decent actually, despite its reputation. A lot of people will tell you that Baby is like the worst song ever recorded, and I'm over here like, it's not that bad, people, get over it. And I can say the same about the rest of the album. Songs like Overboard, which is a surprisingly solid deep cut, and the other big single, Somebody to Love, are actually not bad. There's no great songs on here, which is why it's only going in the decent tier, but there's no real atrocities on it outside of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo Lover. And now, for his Christmas album, Under the Mistletoe. This album is pretty boring, to be honest. Most of the songs on it are just generic acoustic guitar ballads with Christmas-themed lyrics. The one song on here that I can kind of get behind is his cover of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I like the 60s or 70s soul sound that it has. Other than that, it's meh. Moving on to Justin Bieber studio album number 2, Believe. Believe is Justin's attempt to show that he's matured now that his voice has deepened. And let's just say that he doesn't do that great of a job of it. I mean, listen to the song Boyfriend, where he tries to rap. However, again, this album is mostly decent, I would argue. I mean, sure, it's not great or anything. I wouldn't throw it on in the car or even in my spare time at all. But Boyfriend is the only outright atrocity on here. I don't even hate As Long As You Love Me. And as for Beauty and the Beat, it's actually good aside from that terrible Nicki Minaj verse. So yeah, this album had potential, but it ended up just being decent. Up next is the compilation album, Journals. Now, this one is one of Justin's better, in my opinion, since it has the song Confident, which is an interesting mix of reggae and rap and R&B. And also the song Backpack, which, believe it or not, is a song where Justin makes friends with an alien, played by Lil Wayne. Yes, you heard that correctly. Yeah, but aside from those two weird songs, this album is, once again, mostly just decent. There's no outright atrocities on this one like there were with the last two. It's just a wall-to-wall decent R&B album that I'd probably like more if I was an actual R&B fan. Up next is his third studio album, Purpose. This album is Justin Bieber's attempt at a redemption album after a series of negative press incidents. And yeah, it really shows. All of these songs are about how Justin is sorry, at least supposedly. It's very sarcastic. But what I like about this album is the interesting electronic elements on songs like What Do You Mean? And also Love Yourself, and my personal favorite, No Sense. That song is a borderline trap song, and yeah, Justin sounds better than he has any right to over it. There's a few really good songs on here, and I'm actually going to put it in the good tier, believe it or not. Even though it is kinda insincere, to say the least. However, say what you want about Purpose, it's definitely better than the next album, Changes. This album is just an atrocity. I mean, every single song is boring. Justin Bieber comes off as clingy and self-centered, despite the fact that this is supposed to be a relationship-themed album towards his wife. And then there's the song Yummy, which I flat out cannot stand. So yeah, screw this album. Awful tier. And then there's his fifth studio album, Justice. This is my favorite album from Justin Bieber, actually. I like the synth plops. The synth pop flourishes on this album. And the catchy songs like Hold On, Peaches, and even mournful ballads like Ghost. Yeah, this album is actually pretty great. I mean, it's barely great, there's definitely some boring songs on it, and those Martin Luther King skits seem way out of place, but I still mostly like this album. I'll just barely put it in the great tier. And finally, we get the Freedom EP. I'm willing to bet that most of you guys didn't even know this existed. This is Justin Bieber's attempt at contemporary Christian. And while most would think that would be the most awful thing in the world, I mostly just found it mediocre. And the only real objectionable moment on it is when he starts rambling about cancel culture on the song Afraid to Say. But even that song isn't bad musically, it's just really boring. So yeah, I can't hate this. Meh tier it is. And that's my tier list. I'm planning on doing these once a month, so feel free to leave suggestions for bands. I'm Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer, and I'm out.